All right. Hi. Hi, guys. Hey, we get to talk now. You know, if you want to scoot in closer, hang out where you're at, that's totally cool too. But it's cool to get a chance to come and talk to you today about BuilDesign, the internship program that we run at Phase2. Now, this deck was originally put together for a conference where we were talking about how to run an internship program, but we'd like to present it to you guys as like, this is our internship program, and here's some of the inner workings of it.
Yeah, so it's about the internship program, but also some of like the business reasons that we do it and kind of the behind the scenes stuff as well.
And it was 14 weeks, and we hired 6 amazing people out of the program. So it was a really great experience for everybody, and these are the folks we hired. Really cool people that we work with to this day, and it's been a year and a half.
A little over a year and a half.
Yeah.
And this is the third class that we've had come through the program.
Third class
so
that we've done it.
11 hires total.
Yep. All of these, all of the folks that came into the internship program started out as junior talent, but all of them were billable, which is a really big deal for us because we're an agency. They were billable immediately on hiring, which was a really big goal of this. And yeah, I'm Chris Bloom. I'm Director of Engineering at Phase2 Technology.
And I'm Caitlin Loos, and I'm the Director of Creative Services, also at Phase2 Technology. And Chris Wright is our other counterpart who's not here with us today. So we kind of span all of the different things that we do in the agency world, and that's really the basis of this program, is that we bring people together in all different disciplines to learn together. Agency world is really tricky, and you have to know a lot of different things, and so we really like teaching people together on the wide spectrum of all the things that we do.
So we're really looking to kind of foster mentorship, strong mentorship between people coming into the program and existing mentors and employees within the companies. It's a really, really big goal of this.
So just to start, why do we care about junior talent? Every study out there that shows what makes businesses successful talks about diversity, and diversity of age, diversity of demographics, diversity of experience, and we really take that seriously. We know that people coming in from different perspectives and from a more junior level have a ton to offer from a business perspective, so really, really important to have a group of energetic, diverse people coming in through the program. Of course, it's a good financial decision, doing the internship programs. It's one of the reasons that a lot of companies do it. And then balanced workforce. We really believe in a culture of teaching and mentorship and having everyone do things that are appropriate to their level and being able to have that balanced workforce. And this is one of the ways that helps us do that.
So I'm really plugged into the local development meetup community here in Portland. I go to the Saturday thing at Metal Toad. We run the free code camp on Monday, every other Monday at the Phase2 offices, plus I just kind of go to all the other meetups. And I've seen a really much more representative pool of people in the community over like the last 5 or 6 years. It's changed a lot for the better, and we're really trying to represent that inside the internship program as well. Okay, so now when we gave this slide originally, we asked an audience at a conference, at a big, Drupal conference, like, hey, who went to a code school or who went to a college for computer engineering? And of course, there was like a few people in the room that did it. And you guys are all at a code school right now, so it's a very, very different, group, right? Who here though does come from a different background than coding? This probably isn't necessarily your first shot in school. Like who here has a prior education in something? Okay, where'd you come from?
Well, my degree is in engineering from way back. Then I did a number of things over the last 20 years besides that, and I'm coming back into it.
What brought you back to code, or brought you to code?
Well, I think software is the heart of what's going on in the future, so I just want to be a part of that.
Okay, on, back there, you had your hand up. Communications, very nice. What brought you to code?
I was actually working at starting a restaurant, and the back end of that involved putting in the data for the menu into a database. And I'm like, I really enjoyed
This is more fun than the day job. Yes. How many folks is this the first shot for school? Like this is just from high school through through first shot at education, post high school. Very cool. All right, so this is a pretty good selection of backgrounds, right? Going into new development opportunities.
So we want to start off with how we define an internship. So internship is actually a really specific classification of employment, and it's defined by the U.S. Department of Labor as the internship experience is for the benefit of the intern. So that's really key to our philosophy and how we approach it. We really
That's
believe,
written in law.
Yeah,
I know that.
it's
Like, I
crazy.
love the sentence. For this isn't. Yeah. Okay.
So an internship is not someone you hire to work on a project for a little while, a contractor type position. It's not giving someone an education through exposure and not providing any sort of formal education. It's really not cheap labor at all, and it's not copy runners and gophers, and we take that pretty seriously with our program. So some of the key elements of BuilDesign that I mentioned before, so it's really about bringing everybody together under a lot of different disciplines that we do in an agency environment. A couple things to call out here. Paid is really important, speaking to that diversity piece. We don't want to just hire people who can afford to work for free. We want to hire a wide range of people, so we think that's really important. Real client experience is one of the differentiators that we've found that the interns really appreciate and that is critical to the success of the program. We do as much as we can to get our interns on real client projects as soon as we possibly can. And then I'd say the other one is a real defined curriculum. So we spend a lot of time on building curriculum and we find all sorts of other ways in the company to use it, but having that really guarantees that we're getting the right training for our interns to make them ready to start right off the bat.
So there are so this is images of the 3 different rounds that we did this internship program, and you can actually see it kind of grow. And it started mainly as creative, right? In the design interns, right? And then we had a cohort that was a smaller number, and then we went all the way up to 13 in 2017. So it was a whole lot of people, and it's just grown and grown and grown. This year, in 2018, we're actually going to cut back the numbers a little bit just because we want to give a little bit more focus to the folks that participate. But you can kind of see it's evolved and we're learning, and it's been a pretty great experience the whole way.
We found that 13 was a little tight.
A little tight, yeah. So this is we actually had to pitch this to our company, right? So this happened grassroots style inside of Phase 2, and as an agency, we were kind of told originally years ago, like, oh, we don't have room for interns, right? We got to get in, we got to consult, and we got to
only hire senior.
We only hire seniors, right? So we had to kind of beg, borrow, steal, and fight, and pitch and sell the idea of a program that could kind of meet the needs of a fast-moving agency, but also be a good experience for the people that participate in it. So we really had to start small, right? We really had to show results, right, to justify the fact that we're doing this, right? It's not just a, quote, money sink. We basically had to run the internship program on top of our day jobs because I'm a coder, right? I code all day long for clients. So I would do that and then help, run the thing. You're doing creative and design work and then also running an internship program at the same time.
And part of it was justifying the business value. The other part of it, though, was actually learning how to get value out of the program and how to get value out of interns. And it was important for us to grow and do that. So just to give you a snapshot of what this looks like, this was the first year that we did it.
It's in yellow down there. Yeah,
we're gonna kill the yellow text. So this is year 1. We had 2 interns. They were both designers. It was a design-only program, and this is when we started off the structure of we have our executive champion, right? Somebody's got to agree to pay for it. HR support, really important because we don't do that. There are legal issues and all that stuff. The program directors, that's me and Chris. It was just me to start with. Mentors, and then teachers. So we draw in people from the company to be subject matter experts and teach on the things that they do. So first year, 2 interns, 16 different employees were engaged with it. Year 2, we had all these things grew, right? We had 6 interns total. We had a bunch more teachers and a bunch more mentors to go along with it. We had 41 employees engaged. This is when people were starting to get more interested in it.
This over here, this is where the suits get involved,
right?
And once the suits buy in, and then you've got actual support, and then the program starts to grow.
Yeah. And then this was last year. more than half the company was involved. We had 13 or 12, depending on how you have, interns involved in the program. We really had widespread buy-in, we had proven results, and now we're in a position of the company's asking us to do it, which is weird.
Yeah.
So executive support is really critical to making this happen, and that's really one of the things that we learned is you just need to build that internship. Yeah.
We talked about it, so just out of curiosity, what is how do you pitch the idea of an internship to your superiors as opposed to hiring a junior developer?
Yeah, we actually have that specific thing covered at the very end of the thing, but I mean, just to kind of preview it, I mean, there's kind of the math, right? Like there's a financial benefit to that for sure, and then it's really pitching on that diversity component, right? Like we know that we're going to get a ton out of this in the long run, and it's about building over the long run. And there's benefit also in the education piece, in learning together and having a culture of education within the company and getting more people involved in that. Those are, I think, the big highlights.
And because I do love this question, I'm going to jump in as well. And that is, initially, a while ago, we actually had a mentality that we don't hire junior developers. We didn't have the support. We didn't have people who could be there for them. We didn't have the bandwidth, right, for that extra level of work for junior developers. That's why we only hired seniors. When we were able to pitch on an internship program with these structures, it actually helped bring in the mentality of like, oh, maybe there is room for teaching and mentorship and growth around that. So to answer like, why not just pitch a junior developer? The answer was we didn't even consider junior developers a couple of years ago. Okay, so when we originally gave this deck, right, we were talking to a room full of people who are interested in starting up their own internships at their companies. But I think it's important for you guys to see sort of like our hiring advice, like how do we reach into this pool of people and potentially hire from it, so you can get a feel for what we're looking for. One of the number one things that we're looking for is a technical baseline, and I think that's where a lot of code schools in the area offer like a really good solid foundation to come in. The idea is that when you go somewhere, you're going to learn their specifics and their quirks and their stacks, but being able to kind of start right up and just be like, I know what Git is, right? I have my public key I can give to you, right? We're all talking the same language to begin with. Second is passion, and actually that's probably number one. I'll put that above technical experience. I'll teach anybody anything, but you really, really have to want to do this, and it's pretty clear, pretty quick, who's super interested and who actually really cares about it. So, I ask a silly question like, hey, would you code for fun on a Friday night, right? And it does kind of tell you a lot about someone's like priorities and what they want to do. So I also frequently, when doing interviews at the beginning, maybe this is giving away a little too much, I kind of know the curriculum for most of the code schools in Portland, so when we see people and we interview them and they're showing us stuff that they've done, I can kind of like subtract the stuff that they were supposed to do anyway as part of their homework to see maybe what they're like playing around with, what's interesting to them, the things that they're just kind of doing on their own. So, to be like, well, okay, you did that, but you're kind of supposed to do that, like, let's talk about what you're interested in. And, okay, yeah, the Friday night thing, so.
Yeah, and through this we've done a lot of interviewing and hiring, which has been really instructive for us, and one of the things we learned is, like, you have to know your deal makers and your deal breakers, and for us, I think the passion piece is the deal maker, right? Like, the enthusiasm, the passion, the orientation towards learning, that excitement, and the deal breaker is, like, we just don't hire jerks, and like, I don't care how talented you are, we had to learn
literally,
that
you can be the best programmer in the world, and
Yeah.
if you're an asshole,
Right.
there's really no...
Another thing that we've learned is how finding junior talent is different. So especially in a really highly skilled environment, finding junior talent is hard. And this is where that we only hire senior people comes in. It's hard to find. So some things to take into account, not all superstars are born that way, or start that way, sorry, is there's a lot of things that cover up talent, sometimes inexperience and lack of confidence really can hide those things. The other thing is experience. People don't come in with a ton of experience, and we have to kind of give them the opportunity and the experience and sort of see how they operate in that environment, and there's a ton to be learned there. And then I think one of the really big things is being really flexible in where people land, right? So we bring people in and we have these rough buckets. You'll see our application come out and we have development, product management, and design. And within those, there are a ton of different jobs, and people come in and we expose them to all the different curriculum and all the different teachers and mentors and all of those things. And sometimes people have an aptitude or an interest in something other than what they started in. And we really want to keep an eye out for that and be flexible around that, just because it's hard to know before you have a ton of experience. And then our fundamental thing is you get back what you give in terms of investing in people, just in general, but for this.
So let's talk about the code school filter for a minute, and that is if there's a general population that are all applying to a role, the code school acts as a really good first layer of filtering up talent. So it's really awesome to talk to you guys. Thanks for letting us be here. This is a really good place to indicate passion because you're already taking the steps, right? You're already putting in the work. You're already putting, your money where your mouth is, and that's a really huge thing that we leverage when we're interviewing and we're trying to consider who we bring in, right? So if you've made it through the code school, right, you've proven yourself. You've got a body of work. You've got a portfolio. Yeah, maybe is something on the horizon. Okay. Right, you've already kind of you've done the time. And the other thing is, that catch-22 of they only hire you if you have experience, but you got to get hired to get the experience is probably a really common conversation that you guys have a lot. It's well, they want 5 years, but they won't give you the shot. So, well, the code school is the experience, right? We treat that like real experience when we're talking about this stuff. So a little bit on meetup culture as well. I recognize a lot of you guys from the meetups in Portland. So another really awesome opportunity is being able to recognize that people are going outside of just the code school stuff and going to the meetups and just exploring a lot of technologies and the local social stuff around tech in Portland. Keep doing that. It also is something to talk about in your interview. Talk about maybe getting an opportunity to present or what you learned or new things that you've kind of picked up there. So yeah.
Okay, so now getting into the program. Oh my gosh, you can't see anything.
Okay, there's a bunch of dots here.
Wow, that's not great.
There are lines.
There are lines of concurrent things going on.
Okay.
Whole Gantt chart situation, but I can just describe it to you. Design lessons always, right? So our program's 14 weeks. We might be changing it to 12 weeks, but this is kind of what it looked like the last time we did it. Across the top, the whole way goes a self-study curriculum in Trello. So that's something that Bloom has done a ton of work on.
Yes, this goes. It's this one here.
Perfect. And so it's really meant to be kind of self-guided. We have our interns work together and help each other with it, and that's one of the foundational pieces. The next line below, we have guest lectures by our company specialists. So that's the curriculum. It's a combination of us planning what we need and asking for it, and people in the company coming to us and saying, hey, we want to teach this thing, and that goes throughout the entire program. The advisor network goes most of the distance, starts a little ways
About
ahead.
there. Okay. All the way over to advisor.
So we started this last year, actually, and it's just basically people who are not your direct mentor, but who want to be involved as subject matter experts who just make themselves available both to interns and to mentors. So some of them are there because the mentors are maybe more junior and they can help with management issues, and a lot of times they're subject matter experts, and you can go to them. You're just like, hey, I'm sort of interested in learning about this thing, and they've made themselves available to you. And there are a couple parts in the program where they specifically jump in and help. Mentor pairings are a little bit shorter than that.
Right about there.
So after an initial round of the self-study and some of the initial curriculum, we pair you with a mentor, a one-on-one or one-on-two relationship, someone in your specific area of study. At that point, we can really kind of tell how people will get along with each other and what disciplines they're going to be the best at and pair people up. Slightly shorter than that is actual client work.
Okay. This one's about 50% because what we've done is we've spent a fair amount of time getting people up to speed and getting people taught and trained, and then we try to get them on actual work at about the midway point of the internship program.
And when possible, that's paired with their mentor. They're on the project their mentor's on. That doesn't always work out, but we just like to give people that experience. And then two little short ones, the innovation pitches.
This is right there and right there.
Yeah, and the Acquia Builder exam. Those are two just different ways of evaluating people's work. The innovation pitch is basically tell us an idea that you have to make our company or our industry better. And it's pretty wide open, and that's really that diversity component. Like, we want to hear what you're thinking. We don't want it to be coming from us. We want to hear it from you.
It's also a non-coding thing that we're asking people to do because it allows a more creative and more communicative sort of chance for us to get to know somebody. So it's not just like write code.
And we bring in a varied audience of people from the company that you have to present to. So not everybody you present to is going to know exactly what you're talking about. So it really simulates an environment where you have to, pitch to a client or to someone outside of your specific cohort. And then the Acquia Builder exam
is in the last little bit, we give opportunity to study and then take this certification from a company called Acquia. They're the biggest Drupal company out there. It's basically a cert that says, I know how to use Drupal, right? And it's really good to go anywhere after Phase 2 with or stay at Phase 2 with. So we kind of want to, and we cover the cost of it and we help people study for it. But it's a good way to ensure you've learned Drupal, and then if you go on to something else, you've got something to take with you.
Now we get into curriculum.
Oh yeah, this one's fun. Okay, so this is a little washed out here, but bear with me. So we basically have an enormous Trello board of just, various subjects and things that we want to make sure everybody knows. And it, it's just kind of about being good, not great, right? We're not a full school. This is not the most perfect way to do learning and curriculum, but it's what we have, and it's fast, and it's not a full-time job, right? So we try to make sure everything's a bite-sized concept. We try to make it pretty self-directed because we're not necessarily going to be right with the cohort the entire time. We want people to be able to work through it week by week by week. We try to make sure it's things that an organization would have wanted everyone in the organization to understand technically anyway, but just assumed people knew. But, public key, private key encryption, who taught you guys that? How'd you learn it? How'd you learn what a public key was, right? No one sat you down and you had to figure it out. But it's like a fundamental thing for a lot of the stuff that we do online with code. But we don't have any curriculum at Phase 2 to teach, our full hires that. This is that opportunity to set a baseline for us at Phase 2 of like what people should know. So, we've got an information column at the beginning, and then everything else is just week by week. Cool. All right, so more yellow text. And you can kind of see this is the board. It's all spread out. This is onboarding. Then we try to give a good month and a half, a month of self-study, where it's the group working together socially to get through these cards, to learn, to understand. There's a ton of stuff. And then you're going to notice that all of our subject really tapers off because what we're trying to do is get people billable onto client work. Okay, and that's where the end of the program rolls out. Then we've got rough groupings of technologies. It tends to be more front end at the beginning because JavaScript's really easy to fire up. CSS is really easy, to kind of get running locally. But then it ends deep into Drupal. Drupal pays our bills, right? It's a PHP stack. It's a CMS. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of like WordPress, but I guess bigger. Give it a shot if you want to play around with something that's really, really relevant out there. But yeah, this tends to be the heavier, less easy to get running locally technology. Okay, and then really general concepts, really specific concepts. What is dependency management? All right, general version control systems, cool. Really specific Drupal theme hooks to get the right div onto the page. That's over here, okay? And then managing, various Webpack tasks and things like that. So it tends to be more generic and then getting a lot more specific at the end. Okay, and finally, when we gave this deck, we were presenting to a Drupal convention. So we really did want to talk about the benefits of Drupal as a learning tool. So this is really valuable. So if you have a chance, recommend everyone go hit drupalize.me. Go watch some videos. See if you see something there that's interesting to you. If you haven't played with it already, there's a lot of free stuff there. Drupal just has a couple of things that I found that allow people to enter coding really easy. They have an amazing community, really super active community. The meetups in Portland I think there's 3 of them a month. They're awesome. The people are incredible. It's very, very helpful. It's very open source, community driven for everything. You're forced to learn a lot of tools in order to use Drupal, right? Whether you want to or not, you just have to. It's actually got a pretty good JS layer built into it. So if you're more on the JS and the front end side, kind of the markup and the JavaScript side, it's got something to offer pure front enders. But if you do find that you want to work more on the server and the database layer, our entire careers built in Drupal that never touch markup or JavaScript, and they're purely just on the back end. I've also seen a lot of people enter this world through Drupal and then end up in DevOps almost entirely because of it. So great piece of software. It's huge. There's something for everybody in it. All right, last but not least, this is the Drupal focus. We kind of took that up earlier, but we're going to try not to talk about it at the beginning, maybe give people the chance to kind of do some self-study, and then at the end, it does become a big foundation of what we do. This is mainly just, a place to go learn more about Drupal. We mentioned the certification test. We really want to make sure everybody has the support to take it. Everyone took the test. It was a little bit stressful. We tried to be there to help them out and give them the tools they needed to pass. But I mentioned the tutorial sites for studying and then all of the meetups that are also available. So, cool.
So jumping into another element of the program is our company specialist presentations. These are really our subject matter experts. It's really just the smart people at our company coming to teach about what they do. We really like to engage a wide breadth of all the things that people do in the company, even things that might be above an intern level. I think last year we had a class on negotiation from one of our sales team people and things like that, just to kind of give exposure to everybody. The other thing from the company perspective is it really helps people to kind of like try out content that they might want to do at a conference. It also really helps with other onboarding content for non-interns later on. And we just have this bank of information. So now we have, I think it's like 30 courses with teachers attached to them and decks that we can give for all sorts of different reasons. So it's a really good thing for the company as well. And this is just a couple of highlights of what we're teaching. So lots and lots of things, and it changes every year a little bit. And yeah, so just a couple of things to call out. We did the fundamentals of aesthetics, as different from developing in Pattern Lab, the anatomy of a proposal and pitch.
This is my favorite one. Documentation is important, and other obvious statements. It's actually a presentation done by one of our guys in our company, but it's all really good opportunities for them to practice their presentations, and then for a lot of people to learn.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. Is client work.
Yeah, okay, just a little talk about what we do, what does real client work look like in an agency when you're a junior developer, right? So we managed last round to get 3 brand new developers onto my client project, and we're okay to talk about this publicly because we got the sign off on it. This is weightwatchers.com, so if you go there right now, most of the front page, the home page of weightwatchers.com was done by our junior interns, working directly with the client. Client knew, worked with them. It's a beautiful site. Check it out.
Well, and when we gave this talk at DrupalCon, the client actually came up with us and talked about her experience working with the interns, which is pretty great.
Super great. So they work with me. I acted as a good filter between them and the client, though we really tried to kind of get them out there, like do their stand-ups, make their pitches, explain their technical stuff to the client directly, and just watching people take with that and just grow so fast was amazing.
So we're getting to the wrapping up point here, but one of the most important takeaways here, we do interviews at the end of the program and kind of get the takeaways from everybody, and this was my favorite one, that being a good team player is more important than being the best coder. So a lot of this is really about building community and building that company culture that's so important to us right from the beginning with new people. So that's that one. And then getting to the business case, right? So this is to your question, the way that you sell this to your company, or from your guys' perspective, the reason that it makes sense to do this kind of project. The first is the math, right? It has to be a good financial decision, and you kind of have to, we've done a lot of maneuvering to make that make sense in terms of the amount of time that we invest from a certain amount of people and all of those sorts of things. Culture and morale is super, super important. So in the open source community, is a culture of teaching and mentorship is really key, and this is one of the ways that we can really build that in the company. It's also just everyone loves it when the program's going on. There's just so much energy in the office, and we have a remote environment as well, and there's so much energy and excitement and new people to meet, and it's really just really good for the company. Marketing and thought leadership, so we do a ton of blog posts about it, the things we learn from our interns, the things, we come up and do things like this, presentations. The photos that you've seen throughout is from a couple of photo shoots that we did during the program, so it's a really good way to get out there and talk about your company and what you're doing. And then business strategy, the more we've gotten into it, the more we've worked junior talent into our overall business strategy. And like Bloom said, that's not something that we used to do. Like we didn't used to hire junior people because there was that risk factor, right? Like we didn't necessarily know that their skills were going to be where they needed to be, and we couldn't risk the senior people's time to get them where they needed to be. And now we figured out a way to sort of manage that risk factor. So that's kind of the business case. And that's the end of it.
That's it. So if you guys have any questions at all for us, technical details or just overall, thanks for letting us talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. And our application's coming out in the next 2 weeks or so. So if you email us at thatbuilddesign@phase2technology.com, everyone who emails us, we're going to send out the application once we get it up. And yeah, love to hear from you guys.
Being a web development company, apparently it's hard to get a website page going where someone can apply online. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, any questions about the program? Or even anecdotes, like what are your guys' plans post-graduation? What's your strategy?
How about did you guys start this internship program?
It's turned out to be about every year and a half.
Yeah.
We've sort of aimed for every year, but it ends up being about every year and a half.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of
and
like
organization.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
So how many interns are you looking to get in this year?
6 or 7-ish
Yeah,
this year.
something like that.
13 was a lot. 13 it wasn't too much in that the needs were met very, very well. But it was a lot of stress on us, so we're going to try to pull it back. There was also a little bit of a Hunger Games situation when everyone knew that there were 13 participants but only 6 hiring spots, and we're going to avoid that now by ensuring like the number of spots and the number of people are roughly equivalent. Okay, so a little less like backstabbing. No, there wasn't a backstabbing.
A lot of really hard work.
A lot of hard work, yeah.
About code schools, do you have any interns that are not from code schools, maybe from university instead?
Almost none from a university, remarkably. And I think, and I have nerd opinions on this, and it does kind of come down to the technology changes so rapidly, and we're so specific about what we have to use to get stuff built. Most universities aren't teaching these things, whereas the code schools are a lot more agile, right? And they're able to really get in it. You tend to see people in code schools who are there to code, who learn the stuff and then might not come out with like a purely academic approach, but they've got like good skills with the specifics, and that's kind of been my experience.
And on the design side, we've had we hire mostly from the design schools in Portland, and we've had a couple. Tanner came from the University of Oregon.
Did he? But then he went to code school.
Yeah,
all right, so
he went to code school. So yeah, we make the pool wider, but the strongest candidates tend to come from the code schools on the technical side.
Yeah. Now, if there is someone that comes in with like the passion to self-study around this tech, and that's absolutely something we would consider. We were able to benefit from Epicodus's really focused Drupal curriculum for a while. It's like, oh, hey, great, these things line up. Turns out it wasn't as like strong Drupal as we were looking for, but they had a really good foundation of all the other technology, so it was fine.
What? Go ahead.
What is the average sort of runway from being an intern to someone that can independently work with a client?
Experience, time. There is, and I'm speaking from an agency perspective, which is chaos, right? It's a lot. It's very, sorry, I'm not allowed to call it chaos. It's dynamic. That's what I'm supposed to say. It's a really dynamic environment, and it turns out that It is a little bit less pure technical knowledge, and it is more about those higher level skills of communication and interpersonal skills. So when someone comes in and they know how to do JavaScript or do Drupal, they will be they'll be able to write tickets and hit features and deadlines. But then what happens is we give them runway, we give them room to interact with clients and start taking on more responsibility for themselves, to write the emails, to then become consultants. Because at the end of the day, when you're a full developer at an agency, you're a consultant, right? You're not just being told what to do, you're actually making the decisions. So it takes experience to be able to make decisions, right? You have to know what's out there before you can decide it. It's about making sure they've got that time, but they've also got good, safe, they've got a safe place to screw up. And that's one of the really important things when we put people on client work, is they have to be able to screw up all the time safely. That's why the mentors are there to review work, to make sure that they've got a chance to look at it before it maybe gets in front of a client. So that's a really, really important part.
Another important piece of the program is that everyone goes through the program, and then when they get hired and they're official, they have their pool of mentors or of other interns that they've worked with, so people that they've worked really closely with. The advisor pool and the mentors, they know them all really well, and they've engaged with them, and they've asked them questions, and so they have that kind of backup. So even if they're no longer paired with their mentor, and even if they get put on a project and maybe they're a little in the deep end, they know how to get help, they know how to ask for things, and they have that network already established.
Yeah, being able to be hired in and you're already plugged in, right? You've met everybody, you've got that face time is really super valuable. So being able to be in an area where you don't have to just come in and be perfect, right, is really important. What are your guys' plans? Let me ask you guys this. What is post school look like for you?
Find a job somewhere.
Find a job, okay. What is your process for find a job?
Apply in places that are looking for junior level or internship.
Okay. Junior internship.
Internship is a good opportunity.
Okay. What else we got out here? What's your online portfolio? How are you guys showing something? You're gonna apply and you're gonna say, hey, look what I made. Look what I can do. What are you guys doing for that?
GitHub.
GitHub? Okay, which is good. Good pile of work at GitHub. Any other strategies, ideas there you're looking to do?
Having a website.
Good. Standalone site with maybe some using the technology that you're good at to show the stuff that you're good at. Awesome. Good. Because literally, I go to GitHub, right? A developer is not their GitHub profile, first off, okay? However, pretty good overview, right? It's a good opportunity. If I could offer any suggestions right now, everything you doodle with or fiddle with or are trying out or playing with, even if it's local, put it on GitHub. Everything. Anything that you're like, if I threw my laptop in the river tonight, could I just go back to GitHub and get all of the stuff that I was learning? Just do that. It's really, really super valuable. It lets folks get a feel for where you're at and what you're exploring on your own. But also make a thing. Really make a thing. The whole Drupal thing over here, when we're just looking at interns, we had someone who just managed to get a Drupal site live on some free hosting before they came into the interview. And we're like, yeah, I got it installed, I got it put up, it's a giant pain in the ass. You're like, yeah, isn't it? It's a giant pain in the ass. And they knew, but it was something, right? It was just that little bit of self-exploration that said, yeah, okay, I can use the tools and I can reach a goal with it. So, cool. All right, well, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Don't know how I feel about that escape button that isn't quite clicky,
Yeah. I'm mixed on the new laptop situation.
Question for him. I'm Miguel.
Miguel, nice to meet you.
So I'm smack in the middle of the program. I'm not done with it.
Okay.
I haven't done the class project yet. Should I apply for the internship or should?
Yeah, we're still, how many weeks out from?
We started in September.
Yeah, we've got lots of time.
So maybe I was by that time.
Yep, apply, kind of look down the road on where you want to be, and set a goal for I want to be good at this stack, this technology. I want to make a thing, right? And then just try to be fiddling with it ahead of time if possible, right? So
like currently I'm trying to master JavaScript.
Okay.
I mean, if I get really good at it at an advanced level, does that?
So honestly, I would even say like mastery isn't even the goal in the next. Like I would say as much wide experience as possible without getting too crazy deep, so that you've got the opportunity to see JavaScript work in other systems. Right? Go play with the frameworks. Go pick a back-end technology that you want, like whether it's PHP or it's Node or whatever, and just try not to go super deep, just enough that like let these concepts wash over you, and then when the next stack mentions something, you're like, I remember that from over there.
Oh yeah, well I mean, competency, minimum competency.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, minimum competency. Yeah, I mean that's that. It is though super important to like. Let's just say there's a lot of JavaScript developers right now. There's a lot. There's the code schools have done a good job of sort of like kicking out, flooding a lot of client side, browser side JavaScript devs. And what's happening is I'm seeing a lot of people that are hiring. They're looking for a little bit more beyond that, right? Like what can you do outside the browser? What can we do maybe with a technology that is a great place to play is in the AWS stuff. There's so many resources out there. It's totally free to learn. It's just a matter of reading and doing. Being able to be like JavaScript and AWS or JavaScript and PHP or JavaScript and Python.
C#.
C#. Yeah, actually, there's a huge C# community and opportunity in Portland. Well, Beaverton, but yeah.
I need for C#.
Okay, yeah, there is.
Yeah, because that's the next thing. That's the next thing in this course.
Do you go to the Saturday morning meetups?
Which ones?
At Metal Toe. Do you guys know about this one?
Is it? I think I'm just hearing about it.
It meets once a month. Anyway, there's this insane C# guy there. He calls himself the Dark Lord of C#. You got to meet him. He's amazing. But it's a really good opportunity to get plugged into the C# community and the other stuff that's going on.
When's the next one?
Meetup.com. Check it out. It's called Coding.
Mentorships.
It's once a month.
Once a month.
Once a month,
Used to be
okay.
once
What's
a
it called?
week.
I think it's called Mentorship Saturdays.
Mentorship. It's hard to find on Meetup,
Or
right?
is it that, or it's called
Coding and Career Help. That's it. It's called Coding and Career Help.
Coding
And it's
career.
actually, we focus that meetup on getting people jobs. So they show up, they're like, hey, I'm a relatively new programmer. There's actually full breakout sessions of being like, okay, let's see your resume. And then a group of people tear your resume apart and give it back to you in pieces and say, make these changes. It's awesome. It's like a boot camp to get people over that hump. Also, a lot of portfolio feedback. So if you're working on a portfolio site, it's a good chance to show it off and get some feedback. So it's really focused on getting new devs a job, basically. And people come back and they're like, hey, I got a job since last month. And everyone claps for them, like it's a, yeah.
Coding and
Support
career.
group. Coding and career help.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm the job placement director here.
Hello, job placement director.
So I was wondering if I could get your cards or
Yes.
something. That'd be great. I'll let you continue talking to these people.
Both have added the titles.
I think
It's
we do.
alright, don't worry.
Sorry about that.
I don't even have a card right now to show you, so
Oh, yes.
thank you, fantastic.
God, I think I totally don't have mine.
It's okay, good.
Okay, good.
I might have a spare. Here's an old gum wrapper.
Aaron does a lot.
I didn't bring my cards. But
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to get you in touch with some of these
So that'll be
people.
helpful.
It's nice talking to you. Thanks for letting us come and speak.
Thanks.
Additionally, honestly, if I find.
Right, and
Set.
I gotta be back by a.
Something.
I'm super stressed.
I have better luck. Yeah.
We're good. And you got the dongle piece? And no other cables are yours?
Yeah, it is. It's like a $100
No.
Good seeing you again. See you next time. You were here, you were up at Dan's.
Thanks.
I was at. Yeah.
Good seeing you again.
Coding and careers.
back door, and then
So-
a couple of lots.
Code and career development. This one, this first one, the link is an old one, but I imagine
Yes.
yeah. Metal Toad Mentorship Saturdays. This is a blog from 2013. Yeah, that's
So that thing's still going on, right?
Next week.
yeah, but they've
Last is Tech Talk.
reeled it back to
So
once a
we-
month instead of every
And then
weekend.
he's having a meetup here Wednesday night.
Talk to Aaron
It's not a technical meetup.
about finding that.
It's public.
He's linking it to
Yeah. A little more technical. Uh-huh.
It's the metal code,
Metal
or
Toad.
metal code one.
Yeah.
I just looked at that company on Glassdoor.
Yeah.
Actually, hiring for a junior guy right now too.
It's not surprising.
I've heard a few things too.